I'm going to be straight with you. I stopped telling people where I buy my cheapest staples after I watched one quiet spot get cleaned out in 2 days. Not by some cartoon apocalypse crowd, by regular families who finally noticed their grocery bill jumped again. I don't blame them. I just learned something. The best prices live in places that don't care about vibes. And once a source gets trendy, you see the same cycle. Shelves get stripped, limits show up, and the price creeps. So this is 10 cheap foods my family actually uses where I buy them and the math that proves why I keep them. No hysteria, just patterns. When things get tight, storms, trucking hiccups, budget squeezes, the first weird signs are always the same. Smaller bags, out of stock on staples, and a sudden run on basics. If past patterns hold, the next weird stretch won't be announced. It'll just happen. Quick teasers, so you know I'm not wasting your time. One item costs about the same as a fancy coffee but covers 2 family dinners. Another is a boring brown bag that beats a lot of survival food on cost per calorie. And item 9 is the flavor trick restaurants use so rice and beans don't taste like punishment. If you like prepping that's based on receipts and routines, subscribe. I share the unglamorous stuff, bulk buys, rotation, and storage systems that keep you calm when everyone else is scrambling. Number 1, 25-pound white rice. While everyone fights over branded emergency buckets, I'm still buying rice like it's 2008 and storing it like I mean it. I prefer white rice for long storage because brown rice has more oils and oils go rancid sooner. White rice is boring in the best way. And boring is exactly what you want when you're tired, stressed, and just trying to feed people. Here's the math. I routinely see 25-pound long grain white rice around $12.99 to $13.99 at warehouse clubs. Use $13.99. $13.99 divided by 25 pounds is about $0.56 per pound. A pound of dry white rice is roughly 1,600 calories, so you're around 20,800 calories per dollar. One 25-pound bag at $13.99 can cover roughly 40 to 60 servings depending on portions, and you can build a real meal with it for pennies. My household keeps 75 pounds of white rice as a baseline, 3 25-pound bags. Total cost about $42 when prices are in that range, and I don't stock it and forget it. Last winter, I ran a 45-day pantry sprint, 5 home-cooked dinners a week from stored food, to see what held up. Rice was the easy win. The only failure was my old storage habit because I learned one loose lid can turn cheap food into bug food. Where I buy it, warehouse clubs and restaurant supply. Restaurant supply works because turnover is high, pallets move fast, so you're less likely to get product that's been sitting forever. A buddy of mine who does receiving at a distribution warehouse told me something that stuck. Staples don't disappear first, they get capped first, meaning the store stops putting out the full range, focuses on the fastest movers, and you don't realize anything is happening until the options are just gone. Rice is one of those staples that gets weird fast once people notice. Storage is stupid simple if you do it immediately. Same day I bring it home, I break it into 5-pound units. Each unit goes into a 1-gallon Mylar bag with a 300cc oxygen absorber, then into a gasketed 5-gallon bucket. Smaller units mean one mistake doesn't ruin 25 pounds. I label month and year, and I keep one working bucket in the kitchen so rotation happens without effort, and I keep the buckets off concrete on a small shelf because temperature swings and moisture on a slab can do sneaky things over time. Number 2, dry beans, pinto, black, navy, whatever your family will eat. People love to brag about buying beans and then complain they take too long. That's not a bean problem, that's a fuel plan problem. In my house, beans get soaked and pressure cooked. During outages, I use a thermal cooker approach so I'm not burning fuel for hours. I tested this on a cold weekend when I intentionally shut off the kitchen stove and cooked from backup methods only. Beans still worked. The only thing that changed was I planned the soak ahead of time and I didn't waste fuel with a rolling boil. Price example, I've seen 20-pound pinto bags for $14.94. That's about $0.75 per pound. A pound of dry beans is roughly 1,500 calories plus real protein and fiber. If you get about 12 half-cup cooked servings from a pound, you're paying around 6 cents per serving. 6 cents. That's why beans show up in old extension food storage plans year after year. Rice plus beans has been used for generations for a reason. My family keeps 60 pounds of dry beans, 3 20-pound bags. Not because we're trying to be dramatic, because we eat them and because beans plus rice makes a complete, boring, reliable base you can build on. Where I buy them, big box bulk bags is my baseline, and then ethnic markets or restaurant suppliers when the case pricing is better. Ethnic markets tend to price staples aggressively because their customers cook, not snack. I've also scored good deals when a store switches suppliers and wants the old bags gone. That's the kind of quiet opportunity you only see when you shop off the main grocery script. Storage method I use. I split beans into 2 to 3 pound packets, add absorbers, and store the packets inside a sealed tote. I rotate older beans forward because very old beans can get stubborn and take longer to soften. Not unsafe, just annoying. Rotation solves that. And I keep a note taped inside the tote. Soak overnight, pressure cook 25 minutes, because when you're stressed, you don't want to rely on memory. Number 3, rolled oats. Oats are a calorie lever and a morale lever. They're breakfast, they thicken soups. They can be ground into flour, and they're gentle when stress messes with digestion. During that pantry sprint, oats quietly carried mornings and a couple lazy dinners, especially on nights when we just didn't have the energy to be creative. In bulk, I buy 10-pound bags. I've paid $8 to $12 for 10 pounds depending on region and timing. Even at $12, that's well or $20 per pound. A pound of oats is roughly 1,700 calories, and the prep time is fast. If you're doing cost comparisons, one 10-pound bag can replace a stack of boxed cereal that disappears fast. Where I buy them, co-ops that can order full sacks, bulk distributors, and sometimes warehouse clubs. Bulk bins can be fine, but I prefer sealed bags when I'm storing more than a month or two. My stockpile amount, 40 pounds, 4 10-pound bags. We rotate them weekly. Keeping them fresh is easier than people think, but oats aren't rice, they have more fats. I portion into gallon bags, press out air, add an absorber, and store them in an interior closet away from heat. If a bag ever smells bitter or painty, it's done. Don't argue with rancid fats. Let's be real. Most people don't have a food problem. They have a packaging and rotation problem. Buying bulk is only a win if you keep it usable. And here's the progress check. If you only did rice, beans, and oats, you already built a cheap backbone that can carry you through a tight month without panic. Number 4, potato flakes, instant mash. People laugh until they're tired, it's cold, and they need fast calories without burning much fuel. Potato flakes are comfort and speed. They thicken stews, they become potato bread, and they stretch soups. I keep them because they're one of the fastest warm food options that doesn't require a lot of cooking time. Where I buy them, restaurant supply. The cheapest potato flakes are sold as an ingredient, not a cute little box. The first time I bought a bulk bag, the cashier asked if I ran a diner. That's the vibe. Restaurants buy efficiency. Price range. I've paid $16 to $24 for a 10-pound bag, used $20. That's $2 per pound, but it makes a lot of prepared food. Compare that to buying small boxes at $2 to $3 each for a fraction of the amount, and bulk wins. Also, a 10-pound bag can replace a bunch of "we're too tired, let's grab takeout" nights. I tested this during a 3-day winter storm when roads were gross and everyone was cranky. Potato flakes plus canned chicken plus a little bouillon was a hot dinner in under 10 minutes. That kind of speed saves money and sanity. My stockpile, 20 pounds, 2 10-pound bags. Storage, potato flakes hate humidity. I portion into quart jars or smaller airtight containers right away, and I keep them inside a tote with a desiccant pack. I don't leave the big bag open in a pantry for months. Moisture ruins texture fast. Number 5, flour and cornmeal. This one is where people get burned because pests love it and fats go stale, especially in whole grain products. So my rule is simple. Store what you'll rotate and rotate what you store. Flour is cheap until you throw half of it away. Where I buy it, bakery outlets when available, warehouse clubs, and restaurant supply. Those channels sell 25 and 50-pound bags because that's normal for anyone who bakes for real. Basic math, if you get a 25-pound bag of flour for $10 to $14, that's $1.40 to $0.56 per pound. Roughly a pound of flour can become a loaf of bread, give or take. Even after yeast, salt, and a splash of oil, homemade bread costs a fraction of store loaves, and it exists even when the bread aisle gets weird. If you're the kind of person who buys $5 artisan loaves, one $12 flour bag can feel like printing money. My amounts: 50 pounds of all-purpose flour and 25 pounds of cornmeal. Storage approach. For flour, I freeze it 3 days when it comes home to knock out hitchhikers, then I portion into 5-pound units with absorbers and bucket them. For cornmeal, I store smaller units and rotate faster. If I won't use it soon, I keep it colder because the fats can go off. And I don't store flour in a hot garage. Heat is a silent thief. Number 6, cooking oil. Calories are easy. Fats are the hard part. Oil gives energy density and makes food satisfying, but it doesn't last forever. The goal is a rolling buffer, not a lifetime stash. Where I buy it, warehouse clubs and restaurants supply by the case. Turnover matters here. I want oil that hasn't been baking under lights forever. Here's the math I use. Cost per tablespoon. A 3-liter bottle is about 202 tablespoons. If you pay $9, that's about 4.5 cents per tablespoon. If that same bottle is $15 later, that's 7.4 cents. Cook daily, and that gap adds up. And if you've ever tried eating lean pantry meals for a week, you already know the truth. Without fat, food feels sad. Fat is part of morale. My amount: about 10 quarts in rotation across a couple types. Storage method: darker, cooler cabinet, not above the stove, and I mark the purchase month on the cap. Sensory rule: if it smells like crayons, it's done. And I don't buy a container so big I can't use it within a year. Bigger isn't always smarter with oil. Now we move into the items people buy quietly because once the word spreads, the shelves don't stay full. You've got cheap calories, protein, and flexibility. Next is function: milk for cooking, minerals, and flavor. Number 7, powdered milk. Not for sipping, for pancakes, breads, sauces, mashed potatoes, and keeping kids' routines. Normal: during a power outage a few years back, neighbors were improvising breakfast. We weren't, because we had the basics covered. That's the prepper advantage nobody brags about. You're not surviving, you're just continuing. Pricing varies, so I judge it by cost per prepared quart. If a container is $18 and makes 18 quarts, that's $1 per quart. If another is $26 for 20 quarts, that's $1.30. Then I compare to local fresh milk prices and decide how much buffer makes sense. If you bake a lot, this is huge. If you never bake, keep less. Simple. My stockpile: the equivalent of 24 quarts in powdered form. Storage: smaller sealed containers, tight lids, and I write the open date on it. Powdered milk absorbs moisture and odors like it's trying to. Keep it away from spices and cleaners. Number 8, sugar and salt. People underestimate these until they eat plain staples for 2 weeks. Sugar is baking, preserving, and quick energy. Salt is flavor, preservation, and a basic mineral you don't want to be short on. Old school storage guidance includes specific amounts for a reason. My amounts: 40 pounds of sugar and 16 pounds of salt. Storage trick: don't package sugar with oxygen absorbers unless you enjoy sugar bricks. I store sugar in food-grade buckets with tight lids, no absorbers, and I accept clumping. Salt stays in original packaging inside a sealed tote with moisture control nearby. I keep smaller working containers in the kitchen so I'm not opening the big stash constantly. Number 9, bouillon and seasoning bases. The restaurant flavor trick. This is the difference between I can eat this and I'm sick of this by day 10. During my pantry sprint around day 12, morale dipped. Meals were fine, just repetitive. A tub of chicken base, garlic, and chili seasoning turned boring staples into meals again. That matters more than people admit. Math. A big tub of base might be $10 to $18. If you get 200 cups of broth out of a $14 tub, that's 7 cents a cup. Compare that to boxed broth at $2.50 for 4 cups, about 62 cents a cup. That's why I buy the ugly tub. And here's another comparison. One restaurant meal for a family can be $45 easy. The same money buys enough bouillon and seasonings to make dozens of pantry meals feel like real food. My stockpile: 1 large tub each of chicken and beef base, plus big containers of onion powder, garlic powder, and 1 all-purpose seasoning my family likes. Storage: sealed, dry, and no wet spoons. I keep them in a tote with desiccant packs so humidity doesn't turn them into a brick. Number 10, salvage and outlet groceries, the sleeper source. This is where you can snag sealed pantry food for 30% to 70% off if you have discipline. It's also where you can get burned if you don't, which is why serious folks don't advertise it. When a salvage store goes viral, the good stuff vanishes and the pricing normalizes. What you're buying there is closeouts, overstock, packaging changes, and sometimes items near a Best Buy date. Best Buy is usually about quality, not an instant safety switch, especially for dry goods and many shelf-stable foods. If the packaging is intact and storage was decent, I learned this from an old farmer who lived through lean years. He told me, dates are for stores, your eyes are for you. Not reckless, just experienced. My rules: no swollen cans, no bulging lids, no broken seals, no heavy rust on seams. For high-acid canned foods like tomatoes, I'm extra picky. If something looks heat-stressed, I leave it. Cheap is not cheap if it makes you sick. The math on salvage is simple. If pasta is $1.50 a pound at a regular store and you find it for $0.60, you save $1.90 per pound. Buy 40 pounds over a couple months, and that's $36 saved on one item. Do that across 5 categories, and you've bought yourself real margin, money you can redirect to harder-to-store needs. My family doesn't rely on salvage for core staples. Rice, beans, oats, we buy those predictably. Salvage is for opportunistic wins. Pasta, canned fruit, peanut butter, sauces, spice blends, and snacks that keep kids from feeling like life is punishment. And salvage buys rotate fast. If it's already near a date, it goes to the front and gets used within 6 months. Here's the good reason nobody shares these sources. Cheap channels depend on thin margins and steady demand. Restaurant supply works because they sell volume to repeat buyers. Co-ops and bulk distributors work because orders are coordinated. Salvage works because odd lots move fast. When social media sends a wave, supplies get picked clean and policies change, limits, minimums, higher prices. That's not a conspiracy. That's how businesses protect inventory and keep the lights on. If you can only do one thing this week, do this. Pick one backbone staple, rice, beans, or oats, and build a 30-day buffer in a form you will actually eat. Start small if you're overwhelmed. One 25-pound bag of rice plus one 20-pound bag of beans is 45 pounds of real food. Then spend one evening packaging it properly. You don't need to buy everything at once. You just need to stop paying convenience prices for the same calories. The difference between panic buyers and calm families is boring. Calm families already did the math, already built the buffer, and already learned storage before they scaled. When shelves get weird, they keep cooking. If this gave you practical info you can use, hit like. Subscribe if you want the next layer, because next I'm breaking down the storage mistakes that silently ruin hundreds of dollars of food. Heat, moisture, pests, and the shortcut that looks smart until it costs you. And tell me in the comments which item surprised you most. Potato flakes, restaurant supply bouillon, salvage store rules. I read them, and it helps me aim these videos at what actually saves families money and stress.